The transport ship fell from the sky like a burning star. Corporal Taman held tight to his seat as metal screamed and tore around him. The crash came hard and fast. Everything went black. When Taman opened his eyes, smoke filled his lungs. He coughed and pulled himself from the wreckage. His left arm hurt badly. Blood ran down his face. But he was alive. He looked around the broken ship. The others were not so lucky. He stood on alien soil for the first time. Planet Karvesh 9 stretched before him in every direction. The sky was purple and thick with clouds. The air smelled wrong, like metal and rot mixed together. His breathing mask beeped a warning. The atmosphere would kill him in minutes without it. Taman checked his gear. One rifle with half ammunition. His combat knife, a medical kit, some rations, not much for survival on a death world. He pressed a button on his wrist device. No signal. The crash had destroyed the long-range communicator. The jungle around the crash site moved with life. Not the good kind. Taman heard sounds that made his skin crawl, clicking, scraping, heavy breathing from things he could not see. Something roared in the distance. The trees shook. He remembered the mission briefing. Ambassador Hai-Jin and her team had been taken by the Vrin Collective, insect-like aliens who wanted to start a war. They brought the humans to Karvesh 9 because nothing could survive here. The Galactic Council called it a Class X death world. Every plant wanted to poison you. Every animal wanted to eat you. Even the weather tried to kill. But the Vrin did not know about Earth. They did not know what humans could survive. Taman pulled out his knife and started walking. His tracking device still worked on short range. It showed the Vrin compound was 40 kilometers north. 2 days of walking through hell. He moved carefully through the jungle. Every step was a choice between speed and safety. The first creature found him after an hour. It looked like a snake mixed with a scorpion, as long as a car. Its tail had 3 stingers dripping green liquid. The thing hissed and rushed at him. Taman did not run. He stepped to the side at the last moment. The creature crashed into a tree. Before it could turn, he drove his knife into the back of its head. It died quickly. He cleaned his blade and kept walking. The gravity here was heavy. Each step felt like carrying another person on his back. His lungs worked hard in the thick air. Sweat poured down his face inside the breathing mask. But Taman had trained for this. Earth soldiers learned to push through pain. Night came fast on Karvesh 9. The purple sky turned black in minutes. Taman found a hollow tree and climbed inside. He could not risk a fire. He ate 1 ration bar and drank water from his canteen. Then he closed his eyes and tried to rest. Sleep did not come easy. The jungle was louder at night. He heard screaming, fighting, things being killed and eaten. Once something big walked past his tree. Each footstep shook the ground. Taman held his breath until it passed. Morning came with red sunlight through the trees. Taman climbed down and kept moving north. His body hurt everywhere. The heavy gravity made his bones ache. But he ignored the pain. Ambassador Hai-Jin was depending on him. He thought about her as he walked. She was smart and kind. She had worked hard to keep peace between humans and other alien races. She did not deserve to die on this nightmare planet. Neither did her team, young Bora, who loved to learn about alien cultures. Jae-sung, the security officer who had saved Taemin's life during training. A sound made him stop. Something was following him. Taemin turned slowly, his hand on his rifle. At first he saw nothing. Then the trees moved. Something massive stepped into view. The creature stood 12 feet tall. Its body was covered in black armor plating, natural and thick. 6 legs ended in claws like swords. Its head had too many eyes and a mouthful of teeth meant for tearing. A Karvesh Ripper, the apex predator of this world. Taemin had seen the briefing videos. Rippers could crush steel. Their hide turned away bullets. They were smart, fast, and absolutely deadly. The video said if you saw one, you were already dead. The Ripper stared at him. It tilted its head like a curious dog. Then it roared. The sound was so loud that Taemin's ears rang. Birds flew from the trees in panic. Smaller creatures ran in every direction. Taemin did not run. Running triggered the chase instinct. Instead, he stood still and watched the creature. It circled him slowly, testing, waiting for fear. He thought about Earth, about lions and bears and sharks. Humans had survived them all. Not by being stronger, not by being faster, but by being smarter, by being stubborn, by refusing to quit. The Ripper charged. Taman dove and rolled. He came up behind a thick tree. The Ripper crashed into the trunk. Wood exploded. The tree fell, but it bought Taman seconds. He ran, not away but in a circle. The Ripper followed. Angry now. It wanted to kill this small thing that dared to resist. Taman led it through the jungle, looking for something, anything he could use. Then he saw it. A drop-off. The ground fell away into a ravine with sharp rocks below. Taman ran straight for it. The Ripper chased, closing the distance. At the last moment, Taman jumped to the side and grabbed a vine. The Ripper could not stop. It went over the edge and fell. It screamed all the way down. The crash echoed through the jungle. Then silence. Taman climbed down carefully. The Ripper was not dead, but it was broken. Both front legs bent wrong. It breathed hard and watched him with hate in its eyes. "I'm sorry," Taman said quietly. He raised his rifle and ended its suffering with one shot. He knelt beside the body. With his knife, he carefully removed the longest claws. They were sharp and strong, better than any weapon he carried. He tied them to his belt and continued north. The Vryn compound was still far away. The journey would get harder. But Corporal Toymin had learned something important today. The monsters of Karvesh 9 were dangerous. They were deadly. But they did not know persistence. They did not know determination. They had never met a human before, and soon, Taman thought, they would learn to be afraid. The Vryn fortress stood carved into the side of a black cliff. Inside its walls, warrior Clicking Death checked the security monitors with his compound eyes. The name was not his real one. Human translators could not handle Vryn language properly, but he liked it. It sounded fierce. Clicking Death was proud of his position. He commanded 20 warriors in this outpost. They had taken the human prisoners 6 planetary rotations ago. Soon the collective would demand ransom. The humans would pay or their people would die. Simple. The prisoners were kept in the lower levels. 3 humans, 1 female who talked too much about peace, 1 younger female who cried often, 1 male who glared with angry eyes. Clicking Death did not care about them. They were soft, weak. Their kind would never survive a world like Karvesh 9. That was why the collective chose this place. Vryn Chitin could handle the gravity and toxic air. Their warriors could fight the local predators. But humans needed machines to breathe. They broke under the heavy gravity. Perfect prison. Another warrior entered the command room. His name translated as Sharp Mandible. The perimeter sensors detected movement, he clicked. What kind? Clicking Death asked. Unknown. Something large in Sector 7. It disappeared into the jungle. Probably a Ripper. Reset the sensors. Sharp Mandible hesitated. The thermal signature was different, smaller, bipedal. Clicking Death turned all his eyes to the monitor. Sector 7 was part of the kill zone, the open area between the jungle and the fortress walls. Nothing crossed it. The automated defense turrets made sure of that. And if something survived the turrets, the Ravager swarms lived in that zone. Thousands of flying creatures with acid spit. They stripped flesh from bone in seconds. "Show me," Clicking Death commanded. The thermal playback showed a shape moving through the trees. It was the right size for a human. But that made no sense. The human ship had crashed 40 kilometers south. The crew was dead. Clicking Death had seen the wreckage himself. Equipment malfunction, he decided. Nothing could cross that distance alive. But Sharp Mandible pointed at the screen. Look, there. The shape moved again. Closer this time. It walked carefully, avoiding the turret sensors. It knew where the defenses were. Clicking Death felt something unfamiliar, a cold feeling in his thorax. Activate all external cameras, he ordered. The screens flickered to life. Multiple angles showed the kill zone in green night vision. At first, Clicking Death saw nothing. Then movement. A figure emerged from the jungle shadows, a human. Male, wearing torn military clothing. His breathing mask was cracked but functioning. He carried a rifle and knife, but something else caught Clicking Death's attention. The human wore armor made from ripper hide. Claws hung from his belt. Impossible, Sharp Mandible whispered. The human stood at the edge of the kill zone. He should have triggered the turrets. He should have been dead, but he just stood there, looking at the fortress. Like he was studying it, Clicking Death activated the external speakers. Human, you are in a restricted area. Leave now or be terminated. The human did not move. He raised one hand and pointed at the fortress. Then he made a gesture that Clicking Death did not understand. But the meaning was clear. A challenge. Activate defense protocol, Clicking Death ordered. Kill him. The turrets swiveled and locked on target. Fire erupted into the night. Bullets tore through the kill zone. But the human was already moving. He ran in a zigzag pattern, impossibly fast for the heavy gravity. The turrets tracked but could not catch him. Then the Ravager swarm woke up. Their hive was underground, disturbed by the turret fire. They poured from hidden holes like smoke. Thousands of them. Their wings made a sound like screaming. Clicking, Death watched the screens. The human was surrounded. The swarm descended on him. This was over. But the human did something strange. He ran toward the swarm. Not away. Toward. He pulled something from his belt and threw it. The object shattered on the ground. Thick smoke exploded outward. The Ravagers scattered, confused. The smoke was not normal. It glowed with bioluminescent spores. Clicking Death recognized them. They came from screamer plants deep in the jungle. The Ravagers hated the spores. They made the creatures disoriented. The swarm broke apart in chaos, and the human kept running, straight for the fortress wall. He's insane, Sharp Mandible clicked. The wall is 30 feet high, reinforced Vrin steel, but the human was not trying to climb. He was heading for the drainage pipe, the small tunnel that carried wastewater out from the fortress. It was too small for Vrin warriors. That was why they never guarded it carefully. Too small for Vrin, but not for a human. Clicking Death felt that cold feeling again. Seal the drainage system. Now warriors rushed to obey. But before they could reach the controls, something happened. A massive shape moved through the jungle behind the fortress. The ground shook. Titan beetle, Sharp Mandible said, his voice filled with fear. The creature was as big as a building. Its horn was longer than a Vrin warrior. Titan beetles were territorial. They attacked anything that disturbed their hunting grounds, and the fortress sat on the edge of their territory. The beetle charged. It hit the back wall of the fortress. The impact shook everything. Alarms screamed. Power flickered. The defense turret swiveled to face this new threat. In the chaos, Clicking Death lost track of the human on the monitors. When he found the drainage pipe camera again, it was too late. The screen showed an empty tunnel. He's inside, Clicking Death said. Sharp Mandible stared at him. What do we do? Sound the alert. All warriors to defensive positions. Find that human and kill him. 20 Vrin warriors grabbed their weapons and spread through the fortress. They were trained soldiers. They had fought in many battles. One human could not stop them. But as the lights went red and the alarms wailed, Clicking Death watched the monitors. He saw his warriors moving through the corridors. He saw them checking corners. Following protocol, they were hunters, the best of the collective. They knew how to stalk prey, how to use ambush tactics, how to kill efficiently. But something was wrong. Clicking Death realized it slowly. His warriors were being predictable. They moved in patterns. They followed their training. And somewhere in the fortress, a human was watching, learning, adapting. The first warrior disappeared near the storage level. His camera went black. No sound, just gone. Sharp Mandible sent 2 more warriors to investigate. They found nothing except a puddle of green blood. Then another warrior screamed over the radio. The sound cut off suddenly. Clicking Death switched to that camera. The corridor was empty, but on the wall written in Vrin blood was a human number. 18. What does it mean? Sharp Mandible asked. Clicking Death counted his warriors on the tactical display. 20 total. Now 18 remained. The human was counting them down. More warriors fell. One by one, sometimes silently, sometimes with brief struggles caught on camera. The human was not just killing. He was hunting, using the darkness, using their own fortress against them. Clicking Death watched a monitor show the human for just a moment. He moved through a corridor low and fast, silent. His eyes were cold and focused. He had smeared his face with mud and blood for camouflage. The ripper claws in his hands dripped green. This was not the soft species from the briefings. This was something else, something that Earth had made. Clicking Death sent 5 warriors to the detention level. Guard the prisoners. If the human wants them, he will come there. We will be ready. But even as he gave the order, he wondered, what if the human was not coming to rescue? What if he was doing something worse? What if he was teaching them a lesson? The number on the wall changed. 15, 12, 10. Sharp Mandible looked at Clicking Death. Should we request reinforcements? From where? The nearest collective ship is 3 planetary rotations away. Then what do we do? Clicking Death stared at the monitors. At his warriors who were supposed to be apex predators. At the fortress that was supposed to be impregnable. At the Deathworld outside that was supposed to protect them. And for the first time in his life, Clicking Death understood what prey felt like. We survive, he said quietly. If we can. Ambassador Hyejin sat in the cold cell and tried to keep hope alive. It was hard. 6 days of captivity felt like 6 years. The Vryn fed them barely enough to survive. The air was thin and smelled like chemicals. Her body hurt from the heavy gravity. But she had to stay strong. For Bo-Ra, who sat in the corner crying quietly. For Jae-Sung, who paced like a caged animal. They looked to her for leadership. Tell me about Seoul again, Bo-Ra said softly. About the cherry blossoms in spring, Hyejin smiled. They bloom along the river, pink and white petals falling like snow. People gather to watch and eat street food. The air smells like tteokbokki and hope. I miss home, Bo-Ra whispered. I miss Earth. We will see it again, Hyejin promised. She hoped it was not a lie. Jae-Sung stopped pacing. He pressed his ear to the door. Do you hear that? At first Hyejin heard nothing. Then she caught it. A distant alarm. Faint but growing louder. What is it? Bo-Ra asked, fear in her voice. Before anyone could answer, the lights went out. Emergency red lighting kicked in a moment later. The alarm grew to a scream. Through the door they heard running feet. Vryn warriors clicking to each other in their language. Something is happening, Jae-Sung said. Something bad. The building shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Bo-Ra grabbed Hyejin's hand and held tight. More sounds. Weapons fire. Shouting in the clicking language. Then something else, silence, heavy and wrong. Listen, Jae-Sung whispered. The fortress had gone quiet. No more alarms. No more running warriors. Just silence and the red lights pulsing slowly. Then they heard footsteps. Different from Vryn. 2-legged, steady, coming closer. Bo-Ra pushed herself into the corner. Jae-Sung stood in front of both women, his hands raised and ready to fight. Even without weapons, he would try. The door exploded. Not opened, exploded, metal tore and bent. Smoke filled the cell. Through it, a figure stepped inside. A human, male, military. His uniform was torn and bloody. He wore armor made from black hide. Claws hung from his belt. His breathing mask was cracked. His face was covered in mud and something green. But his eyes were clear and sharp. Ambassador, he said. His voice was rough but calm. We're leaving, Hyejin stared. Who are you? Corporal Taemin. Terran Defense Corps. I was on the transport that crashed. Jae-Sung stepped forward. You're alone? Yes, you came alone. Through a death world? Into a Vryn fortress? Jae-Sung sounded like he could not believe it. Taemin looked at him. Yes. Where are the other Vryn? Hyejin asked. Handled. Taemin pulled a rifle from his back and handed it to Jae-Sung. Can you use this? I'm security trained, yes. Taemin pulled a smaller weapon from his belt and offered it to Bo-Ra. The young woman shrank back. I don't want to hurt anyone, she said. You won't have to, Taemin said gently. But if something comes at you, just point and squeeze. Safety is off. The gun will do the work. Bo-Ra took it with shaking hands. Can you walk, Ambassador? Taemin asked Hyejin. Yes, where are we going? Emergency beacon. 15 kilometers north. Rescue ship will arrive in 6 hours if my signal got through. Through the jungle? Jae-Sung asked. At night? That's suicide. Taemin looked at him. So is staying here. The Vryn will send reinforcements. We need to move now. He led them out of the cell. The corridor beyond made Hyejin's stomach turn. Green blood on the walls. Drag marks leading to dark corners. She tried not to think about what had happened here. They passed Vryn warriors. Some were unconscious. Some were wounded. None were dead, Hyejin noticed. Taemin had disabled them but not killed them unnecessarily. You did this alone? She asked quietly. Training, Taman said simply. And anger. They took you. That made me angry. They reached the outer corridor. Taman held up his hand. Everyone stopped. He listened. Then he motioned them forward carefully. Why are you being so quiet? Jae-sung whispered. I thought you cleared the fortress. The Vryn are handled, Taman said. But this is a death world. Lots of other things can kill us. As if summoned by his words, something crashed through a window. Glass exploded. A creature landed in the corridor. It looked like a mix of spider and snake with too many legs and fangs. Bora screamed. The creature turned toward the sound. Taemin moved fast. He grabbed a Vryn spear from the wall and threw it. The weapon caught the creature through its head. It died instantly. Keep moving, Taemin said. No more screaming. Sound attracts them. They exited the fortress through a side door. The jungle waited beyond, dark and full of sounds that made Hyejin's skin crawl. The purple sky was hidden by thick trees. Strange lights glowed in the darkness, bioluminescent fungus or animal eyes. Impossible to tell. Stay close, Taemin ordered. Step where I step. Touch nothing. If something moves, freeze. I will handle it. They walked single file. Taemin led. Then Hyejin. Then Bora. Jae-sung took the rear, rifle ready. The jungle was alive with danger. Things rustled in the undergrowth. Something howled far away. The temperature dropped as night deepened. Hyejin's breath came in clouds inside her breathing mask. After an hour, Bora stumbled. She fell against a tree. Thick sap oozed from the bark and touched her hand. Don't move, Taemin said sharply. He knelt beside her and carefully wiped the sap away with a cloth. This tree is poisonous. The sap burns through skin in seconds. Bora stared at her hand. Small red marks showed where the sap had touched. Taemin pulled a medical kit and applied cream. You will be okay. But this is why you touch nothing. They continued. Every step felt like it could be the last. Hyejin saw creatures moving in the shadows, some small, some very large. But whenever they got too close, Taemin would throw a rock or make a sound. The creatures would investigate and find nothing. By the time they realized the humans were already gone. How do you know how to do this? Hyejin asked. Earth, Taemin said. My training included jungle survival, urban combat, Arctic warfare. Earth has every kind of environment. We learn to adapt or we die. But this is not Earth, Jae-sung said. Everything here evolved to be deadlier. Taemin glanced back. So did we. They walked for 3 hours. Bora was exhausted. Hyejin was not much better. The heavy gravity made every step agony. But Taemin kept a steady pace. Not too fast. Not too slow. He read the jungle like a book. He led them to a stream. We can rest for 10 minutes. Drink, but don't touch the water. Use your canteens to scoop. The water has parasites. Everyone drank gratefully. Bora collapsed on the ground. I can't go on. Yes, you can, Taemin said. He knelt beside her. His voice was gentle now. I know you are tired. I know you are scared. But you are stronger than you think. You survived 6 days in Vryn captivity. You survived this far into a death world. You can survive 6 more hours. What if I can't? Then I will carry you, Taemin said simply. But I would prefer you walk. I might need my hands free to fight. Bora looked at him, at this soldier covered in blood and mud, at his cracked breathing mask and wounded body. He was just one man. He should not be able to do what he was doing, but he was doing it anyway. Okay, Bora said. I will walk. Taemin helped her up. Good. A sound made everyone freeze. Heavy footsteps. Something big moving through the jungle. Getting closer. Taemin pointed to a massive tree with a hollow trunk. Inside, now, quickly. They scrambled into the hollow. It was tight. All 4 of them pressed together. Taemin was last. He pulled brush over the opening. Through gaps in the brush, Hyejin saw it. A creature walked past on 6 legs. It stood as tall as a building. Black armor covered its body. Claws like swords scraped the ground. Multiple eyes scanned the darkness, a Karvish ripper, the apex predator. It stopped near their tree. Sniffing. Searching. Hyejin held her breath. Beside her, Bora shook with fear. The ripper's head turned toward their hiding spot. Its eyes seemed to look right at them. Then it did something strange. It looked at Taemin specifically. The soldier stared back. Neither moved. After a long moment, the ripper made a sound, low and rumbling, almost like respect. Then it turned and walked away into the jungle. What was that? Jae-sung whispered. Taemin did not answer immediately. He waited until the footsteps faded completely. It recognized a fellow predator. They climbed out of the hollow. Hee-jin looked at Taemin differently now. This was not just a soldier. This was something the Deathworld had tried to break and failed. Let's keep moving, Taemin said. We still have a long way to go. And they walked on through the darkness, following the one human that even monsters learned to fear. Dawn came slowly to Karvesh 9. The purple sky lightened to gray. Red sunlight filtered through the alien trees. Taemin checked his wrist device. 3 hours until the rescue ship arrived. 12 kilometers left to walk. Behind him, the others moved like ghosts. Exhausted, hurting, but alive. That was what mattered. Ambassador Hee-jin had surprised him. She never complained, never asked to stop. She just kept walking with quiet determination. Bora was struggling but refused to give up. And Jae-sung watched their surroundings with professional awareness. They were good people. Worth saving. Rest stop, Taemin said. He led them to a cluster of rocks that offered some shelter. Everyone collapsed. Taemin handed out the last of his rations. It was not much. 1 bar split 4 ways. But it was something. Jae-sung watched him carefully. You're limping. I'm fine, let me see. Taemin hesitated. Then he rolled up his pant leg. A deep gash ran along his calf. The wound was infected. Green pus mixed with red blood. That's from a Vrin blade, Jae-sung said. Poison. I know. You need treatment. After we get to the beacon. You might not make it to the beacon, Jae-sung said. Sit down. Let me work, Taemin wanted to argue. But Jae-sung was right, he sat. The security officer opened the medical kit and started cleaning the wound. This is going to hurt, Jae-sung warned. Pain is just information, Taemin said. My brain telling me something is wrong. I already know that. Jae-sung worked in silence for a moment. Then he asked quietly, how are you doing this? Doing what? All of it. The Deathworld. The Vrin, staying calm, how? Taemin looked at the alien jungle around them. At the purple sky and the wrong-colored sun. At the creatures moving in the shadows. Earth made me, he said simply. Humans come from a Deathworld too. We just don't call it that. We call it home. Earth is not like this, Bora said from where she sat. Not exactly like this. Taemin agreed. But close enough. Earth has deserts that kill with heat, frozen poles that kill with cold, jungles full of venomous snakes and poisonous plants, oceans with sharks and storms, lions and bears and crocodiles, bacteria and viruses that evolved to infect us specifically. He paused while Jae-sung wrapped his leg with bandages. Humans survived all of it, Taemin continued. Not because we were strongest, not because we were fastest, but because we refused to quit. We adapted. We learned. We turned our weaknesses into strengths. Our ancestors hunted animals by running them to exhaustion. They tracked prey for days without stopping. They ate things that were poisonous until they learned which parts were safe. That sounds terrible, Bora said. Taemin smiled. It made us who we are. When the Vrin brought you to a Deathworld, they thought you would break. They didn't understand. Humans don't break easy. We bend, we adapt, and then we come back stronger. Hee-jin looked at him with new understanding. That's why you didn't run from the monsters. That's why you used them as weapons. Everything is a weapon if you think hard enough, Taemin said. The Vrin used this world as a prison. I used it as a tool. Jae-sung finished with the bandage and sat back. There, that should help. But you need real medical attention soon. 3 hours, Taemin said. I can last 3 hours. They rested for 20 minutes. Then Taemin stood and checked his rifle. Time to move. The jungle changed as they walked. The trees grew thicker. The undergrowth became dense. Strange flowers bloomed that smelled like rotting meat. They attracted swarms of insects that bit and stung. Taemin led them around the worst areas. But sometimes there was no good path. They had to push through and accept the bites. Bora slapped at an insect on her neck. I hate this planet. 14 species tried to colonize Karvesh 9, Taemin said. All of them failed. Even the Vrin only maintain outposts. They cannot truly settle here. Why? Hee-jin asked. Because they fight the world, Taemin said. They try to dominate it with technology and force. But you cannot dominate nature. You have to work with it, accept it, respect it. He stopped suddenly and held up his hand. Everyone froze. What is it? Jae-sung whispered. Taemin pointed up. The trees above them were moving, not from wind, from something in the branches. Shapes descended on web strands, dozens of them, spider-like creatures the size of dogs. Their eyes reflected red in the dim light. Venom dripped from fangs. "Back away slowly," Taman said. No sudden movements, they retreated step by step. The spiders followed. More dropped from the trees. Soon they were surrounded. Bora's breath came fast, panic in her eyes. "What do we do?" Taman scanned the area. His mind worked fast. The spiders were territorial. They protected their web space. But they were also opportunistic. They would not attack if there was easier prey. "Give me your ration wrapper," he said to Jae-sung. The security officer handed over the empty food package. Taman smeared it with blood from his bandage. Then he threw it far to the left. The spiders' heads all turned. They rushed toward the smell of blood. In the confusion, Taman led the group right. They moved quickly but quietly. By the time the spiders realized the trick, the humans were already gone. "That was smart," Jae-sung said. "That was desperate," Taman corrected. "Smart would have been avoiding them completely." "I'm getting tired. Making mistakes." "You're human," Hee-jin said. "Not a machine." Taman did not answer, but his jaw tightened. He knew his limits, and they were getting close. 2 hours later, they reached a ridge. Taman climbed to the top and looked down. Below was a clearing. In the center stood the emergency beacon, a metal tower 20 feet tall with a blinking light. "There," he said. "That's it." Relief flooded through the group. They started down the ridge. Halfway down, Taman's leg gave out. He fell and rolled. Jae-sung caught him before he tumbled off a cliff. "I'm fine," Taman said, but he was not. The poison was spreading. His vision blurred. "We need to move faster," Jae-sung said. He pulled Taman's arm over his shoulder. "Come on. Help me." Bora took Taman's other side. Together they helped him down to the clearing. They reached the beacon. Taman activated it with shaking hands. A holographic display appeared showing the rescue ship's status. 1 hour, he read. "Ship arriving in 1 hour." Everyone sat down in exhaustion. They had made it. Against all odds, they had crossed a Deathworld and survived. Then Hye-jin stiffened. "Do you hear that?" A clicking sound. Coming from the jungle. Getting louder. Vryn warriors emerged from the trees. 5 of them, led by Clicking Death himself. His compound eyes focused on Taman. "You," the Vryn said in broken human language. "You hurt my warriors. You free my prisoners. You make me look weak." Taman stood slowly. His legs screamed with pain. His vision swam. But he placed himself between the Vryn and the others. "Stay back," he said to Hee-jin. "You're injured," she protested. "You can't fight." "I don't have a choice." Clicking Death spread his mandibles in what might have been a smile. "You're brave, human, but you are dying. The poison is in your blood. You have minutes left. Surrender now. I will make your death quick." Taman raised his rifle. His hand shook. "I have enough minutes." "For what?" "To finish what I started." The Vryn warriors raised their weapons. 5 against 1 dying human. The outcome was obvious, but Taman smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had nothing left to lose. He reached to his belt and pulled a device. A grenade, but not a normal one. This one he had made himself, filled with bioluminescent spores and screamer plant pollen. "You know what's funny?" Taman said. "You chose this planet because you thought nothing could touch you here. But you forgot something important." "What?" Clicking Death demanded. "This is still a death world, and I'm not the scariest thing on it." Taman threw the grenade high in the air. It exploded above them in a cloud of glowing spores. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the jungle erupted. Every predator within a kilometer had been tracking the group, waiting. The spore cloud was like a dinner bell. Suddenly the clearing filled with creatures, rippers, spine crawlers, ravager swarms, titan beetles, and in the center of the chaos, one human stood his ground. The Vryn scattered in panic. Their weapons were useless against so many creatures. Clicking Death ran for the trees, his warriors following. Taman grabbed Hee-jin and the others. "To the beacon! Circle formation!" They formed a tight circle around the metal tower. The creatures swarmed around them but did not attack. They were too busy fighting each other. The beacon's electronic field confused their senses. Through the chaos, Taman saw Clicking Death reach the jungle edge. The Vryn leader stopped and looked back. Their eyes met, and in that moment Clicking Death understood. The human had not just survived the Deathworld. He had made it his weapon. He had become its master. The Vryn disappeared into the jungle, running from monsters, running from the planet itself, running from the human who had taught them fear. Above, the sky split open. A ship descended through the purple clouds. The rescue had arrived. Taemin's legs finally gave out. He fell to his knees. Hyejin caught him. "You did it," she said. "You saved us." Taemin's eyes closed. "Just doing my job, Ambassador." The last thing he heard before darkness took him was the sound of rescue team boots hitting alien ground, and Bora saying quietly, "He's the bravest person I've ever met." Taemin woke up in a medical bay. Clean white walls, the hum of machines, the smell of disinfectant, not the jungle. "Not Karvesh 9, welcome back, Corporal," a voice said. Captain Dong-hyun stood beside the bed. He was older with gray hair and kind eyes. "The rescue ship commander, how long?" Taemin asked. His throat was dry. 3 days. "The poison almost killed you. Medical team worked hard to save your life." Taemin tried to sit up. Pain shot through his body. Dong-hyun gently pushed him back down. "Rest, you earned it. The ambassador and her team are safe. They want to see you when you're ready. The mission? Success. Complete success. You did the impossible, son." Taemin closed his eyes. Relief flooded through him. They were safe. That was all that mattered. Over the next week, Taemin recovered slowly. The ship's doctor visited every day, a stern woman who scolded him for taking unnecessary risks. But he saw respect in her eyes. On the 5th day, Ambassador Hyejin visited. She brought flowers in a small pot. "Earth flowers, roses, how are you feeling?" she asked. "Better. Thank you for coming." Hyejin sat in the chair beside his bed. "I wanted to thank you properly for what you did. You saved our lives. It was my duty." "It was more than duty," she said firmly. "You could have waited for backup. You could have called for a full rescue team. But you came alone, through a death world, because we needed help." Taemin did not know what to say to that. Hyejin continued. "Bora has not stopped talking about you. She calls you her hero. Jae-sung is recommending you for the Star of Terra, the highest military honor. I don't need medals. Maybe not, but you deserve them." She paused. "Can I ask you something? Were you scared? On that planet, facing all those creatures?" Taemin thought about it. "Yes, every moment. Fear is natural. It keeps you alive. But I learned a long time ago that being scared is different from being stopped by fear. That's wise. That's survival." Hyejin smiled. "When you're recovered, I would like you to join my security detail permanently. I could use someone like you." "Someone like me?" "Someone who doesn't give up. Someone who finds a way. Someone who understands that true strength is not about being unafraid. It's about doing what needs to be done even when you are afraid." Taemin considered this. "I will think about it, Ambassador." "Good." She stood to leave. At the door, she turned back. "By the way, the Galactic Council wants to speak with you. They have questions about what happened on Karvesh 9. After she left, Jae-sung visited. He brought a bottle of soju that he had somehow smuggled aboard. "For when you're cleared to drink," he said, placing it on the side table. "We'll toast your recovery. How are you?" Taemin asked. "Good, great actually. Happy to be alive." Jae-sung sat down. "I've been thinking about what you said. About Earth making us who we are. I always took it for granted, our home. But you made me realize how special it is. How strong it made us." "We're all products of our environment," Taemin said. "Earth just happens to be a harsh teacher." "The best teacher," Jae-sung corrected. "Look what it produced. People like you who can survive anything." Bora came last. She was shy at first, standing in the doorway with a tablet in her hands. "I wrote something," she said quietly, "about what happened. A report for the Galactic Council, but also a story about bravery, about you. Would you read it?" Taemin took the tablet. The document was titled, "When Monsters Run, a Human on Karvesh 9. "You don't have to read it now," Bora said quickly. "Just when you have time." "I'll read it," Taemin promised. "Thank you." Bora fidgeted with her hands. "I was so scared on that planet. I thought I would die. But you made me feel safe, even in the darkest moments, even when monsters surrounded us. You made me believe we would survive." "You survived because you're strong," Taemin said. "You just didn't know it yet." "I know it now," Bora said. "Because you showed me." 2 weeks later, Taimin stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was massive. Representatives from 50 different species sat in a circular formation. At the center stood a podium. Ambassador He-Jin had prepared him, told him what to expect. But standing there under the gaze of so many alien eyes was intimidating. The council speaker was a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. He spoke in a translator device that made his voice echo. Corporal Taimin, we have reviewed the reports. Read the testimony. Watch the security footage. What you accomplished on Karvesh 9 was extraordinary. But it also raises concerns. What concerns? He-Jin asked. She stood beside Taimin as his advocate. The human displayed abilities that seem beyond normal sentient capabilities, single-handedly defeating trained Vryn warriors, surviving conditions that kill most species, using a Deathworld as a weapon. It forces us to reconsider our classification of humans. Murmurs went through the chamber. Another council member spoke. This one looked like a floating jellyfish. Some proposed that humans should be classified as Class X sentients, restricted from certain activities, monitored closely. Taimin felt anger rise in his chest, but He-Jin's hand on his arm kept him calm. With respect, He-Jin said, Corporal Taimin is not special. He is not unique. He is simply human. What you saw in Karvesh 9 is what any trained Earth soldier could do. We come from a world that tested us for millions of years. We evolved to survive, to adapt, to persist. You cannot punish us for being good at survival. We do not wish to punish, the speaker said, but we must consider safety. If one human can do this, what could 1,000 do? What about 1,000,000? Taimin stepped forward. May I speak? The council fell silent. I understand your fear, Taimin said. I saw it in the Vryn eyes when they ran. They were scared of me, not because I was cruel, not because I wanted to hurt them, but because I was different from what they expected. Humans confuse you. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. We don't have natural armor or weapons, but we don't quit, ever. And that scares you. He looked around the chamber, meeting alien gazes without flinching. But here's what you need to understand. Humans don't want to conquer you. We want to stand with you. We want to explore the galaxy, learn about other cultures, share what we know. Yes, we're good at surviving. Yes, we can fight when we need to. But fighting is not our first choice. It's our last resort, he gestured to He-Jin. The ambassador tried diplomacy first. Even on Karvesh 9, I didn't kill unless necessary. I disabled, I warned. I gave the Vryn chances to leave. Because despite what happened, I don't hate them. I just wanted to save my people. The council listened. You call Earth a death world, Taimin continued, and you're right. But it's also beautiful. It has oceans and mountains and forests. It has art and music and love. Earth didn't just make us dangerous. It made us appreciate life. It made us value survival. Not just our own. Everyone's, he paused. So yes, classify us however you want. Restrict us if you must. But know this. When you're in trouble, when monsters threaten you, when you need someone who won't give up no matter what, humans will be there. Because that's who we are. That's what Earth made us, protectors, survivors, friends. Silence filled the chamber. Then the speaker spoke. The council will deliberate. You are dismissed. Outside, He-Jin hugged Taimin. That was perfect. You spoke from the heart. I spoke the truth, Taimin said. Same thing. 3 days later, the council announced their decision. Humans would not be classified as Class X sentients. Instead, they would be designated as Class P. P for persistence predators. A new classification created specifically for humanity. The designation came with recognition. Humans would be allowed full participation in galactic society, no restrictions. But also no special privileges. They would earn their place like everyone else. How do you feel about it? He-Jin asked Taimin at the celebration party. Relieved, he said, but also determined. We have to prove we deserve this chance. You already did, on Karvesh 9. Taimin looked out the viewport at the stars. One person. One planet. That's not enough. Every human needs to show we're more than just survivors. We're builders, dreamers, explorers. You're right, He-Jin raised her glass. To humanity. And to the future. Taimin raised his own glass. Around them, his friends did the same. Bora, Jae-sung, Captain Dong-hyun. Even some alien delegates who had come to respect the humans, they drank to the future. To possibilities. To a galaxy that was learning what humanity meant. 6 months later, Tymian stood in a training facility on Earth. Around him were 30 new recruits, young men and women who wanted to join the Terran Defense Corps. "Welcome," he said. "You're here because you want to protect humanity, to serve the greater good, to be part of something bigger than yourselves." The recruits stood at attention, eager, determined, afraid but hiding it well. "I won't lie to you," Taman continued. "This will be hard. You will be tested. You will face things that scare you. You will want to quit, but you won't because you're human, and humans don't quit." He walked along the line, looking at each face. Earth made us who we are. A death world that taught us to survive, to adapt, to persist. Now we take that gift to the stars. We show the galaxy what humanity means. Not through war, not through conquest, but through service, through sacrifice, through standing up when others fall down. He stopped and faced them all. You will learn to fight, to survive in any environment, to turn disadvantages into advantages, but more importantly, you will learn why we fight. Not because we enjoy it,